Welcome everyone in this new video tutorial about the multiplayer combat editor. In this video we're going to learn how to use the charge built-in feature contained in the skills. So what is this feature? It's a feature that allows you to trigger a skill, hold the input of the skill and release the input, and trigger gameplay effects which are being modified depending on the amount of time you held the input. So basically a charged skill. So let's dive right in. Let's create a new skill. I already create one named Stunning Kick. And when I hit play, I can trigger the stunning kick by hitting right click. And right now it's a simple animation montage skill which deals damage or heal. I do not remember. I think it heals the target which I hit. Okay, so it does nothing. For now it just does nothing and it triggers an animation. And we want that skill to, when I hit play, it does nothing. It actually plays an animation maybe, and it charges, and when I release the inputs it actually triggers the animation you can see when I press the button for now. So, and we want it to deal damage based on the amount of time we held the input. So for that we need to call a function named setChargeMetrics. And we want to call that function before anything else in the create statlist function of the skill we created, where we set up the metrics and the montage metrics, the active and the montage metrics. So we want to set charge metrics. What is the maximum amount of charge of seconds you can hold the input? Let's say 2 seconds. What is the charge fx? Maybe you don't want to have a particle effect attached, but for now there is a bug, and if we don't specify a charge fx, it's not going to trigger the charge properly and it's going to be fixed. But for now we're just going to specify that I actually imported a Paragon asset, so I can use for instance any charged fx I have from that Paragon assets. You can say from what size to what size it goes, from the from the moment it starts to charge to the moment it reaches max charge time. So when you press the input, it's going to create the charge fx at 0.8 scale, and if you hold for 2 seconds, it's going to be rescaled over and over, and it's going to reach 1.2 scale. And then you can specify 3 different animation montage, one for start, one for a loop charging effect, and one when the charge is being released. And you can specify if you want the skill to automatically release, to be automatically released when it reaches max charge. For now we are not going to specify we want that. We are just going to specify what montage we want to play, depending what montage we want to play when we end our charging effect. So we want to use the montage we are playing right now, so it is Furious Blow. So we want to find that in our content browser. We want to go back to Stunning Kick and specify we want to play that montage. We want to say we don't have a main montage now. And now we have to override 2 functions. Let's go there. Drag the little drop down, type in get charge, and we want to override get charge attach rules, and we want to override get charge anim play rates. So you can delete the orange node on both of these functions, and that function is used to automatically know what play rate to play for the animation we specified there. And for instance, and you're going to set it up this way. If you drag a wire out of the green of the float parameter, you can type in select. You can drag a wire out of the charge event in there, and you can say what play rate these animes have. For now, we're just going to specify that all of these animes have one play rate, 1.0 play rate. And get charge attach rules. This is asking where should it attach the effect you specify there. If you don't want to have an effect, you don't need to specify anything there. But since I said there is a bit of a bug that makes it so if we don't specify any effects, it's not going to work. We need to specify something in there. So where do we want to attach the charge effects? We want to attach that to our user skeletal mesh, and we want to specify a socket. I think we can go to our third person character, open up the skeleton of our character, and maybe click on the end, on that hand, for instance, hand R. So we can specify we want that socket, hand R, like this. And now we have something to say. We need to trigger the charge properly, because right now that skill is using the base behavior of all our skills contained in my montage skill, which is actually triggering an anim montage in there. Event trigger start effects. It's actually triggering an anim montage. And we actually don't want to just trigger an anim montage, we actually want to trigger the charge effect when we press the skill. So in stunning kick, we want to override trigger start effects. And in everywhere, on every authorities, we want to type in charge feature, and we have three possibilities: start charging, stop charging, and auto trigger charge event. You can manually say when it's starting to charge and when it's stopping to charge, but you can also use the auto trigger charge event, which is going to automatically react to the user holding or releasing the input, or automatically react to the fact that we reset the maximum if we check that box, and trigger the proper animation at the proper time. And now you can hit play, hit right click, and it's going to charge forever, and you can release the... Oh, so the effect is always growing, so this is another bug, so it's going to be fixed. And when you release, it's going to play the animation you specified in the end montage animation of the charge matrix. And you can also say that you want the charge effect to automatically release on maximum, and it's going to trigger the skill properly. And then you also need to specify what you want to trigger when the animation, the different anim notify triggers. So you need to specify anim notify. Anim events. I don't trigger anim effects. That's what we wanted. And we need to check in montage skill, what are we doing when we trigger the animation? We are actually not doing anything. So we can safely use that event. We can drag a wire out of the notify type. And we can say that, for instance, when the first effect of our animation triggers, if you remember properly, we set up the montage end animation to play is Furious Blow. If we open up that animation, we can see there are, we can see there are a lot of anim notifies, and one of them is actually the one in the middle, and it is the first effect notify, and it's going to trigger that. So what do we want to do here? It's actually the main effects of our skill, but I think we can use, how do we call that, trigger gameplay effects. Yep, so we can get rid of that, and we can just use the events we created in our main skill class. We created an effect, so our main skill class automatically listens to our animation and it triggers that event, trigger gameplay effects, when the first effect notify triggers. So we can actually just use that in our stunning kick, trigger gameplay effects. And for now, we're just going to print something, which is the final charge ratio. If we hit play, hold the mouse, release it, it's going to print 0.79. And if we hold it forever, it's going to specify 1. So you might wonder, why does it say 1? Whereas I specified 2 seconds max charge time, because it's giving a number between 0.1 and 1, depending on the percentage amount of time you held the input. So if you hold the input 2 seconds, it's going to return 1. And if you hold the input anywhere between 0 to 0.2 seconds, it's going to return 0.1. It cannot return less than 0.1, this value. So why is this value important? Because, for instance, if you want to deal damage based on how much time you held the inputs, well, that's what you want to use. So if we hit play once again, we can clearly see 1 second when I hold for the maximum amount of time. I mean 1 ratio, not 1 second. And if I hold and release instantly, it's going to return 0.1. Like this. So what do we want to do when we trigger the gameplay effects? We actually want to find actors in sphere. We want to look for the targets of our skill. The maximum results are going to be 1. The sphere radius is going to be 200. The sphere origin is going to be user forward range. And we are going to spawn the sphere 100 in front of us, like this. And we are going to deal damage, to apply damage to anyone we find, to the target we find. What is the source? The source is going to be ourselves, the owner of that skill. The gameplay tags are going to be the gameplay tags of the skill. Hits and blocking VSFX, for now we're not going to specify anything, but you could be well, actually we're just going to say, for instance, we're going to use that FX. You can use any FX you have. And how many damage we're going to deal? We are actually going to deal, to get our damage, and to multiply them by, for instance, 1 plus the final charge ratio. So if I hold for, if I instantly release, it's going to deal 1.1 damage multiplied by 1.1. And if I hold for the maximum amount of time, it's going to deal twice the damage of the skill. So how much damage the skill deal? 10 damage. But we have kind of a problem. We have an armor system in the game that actually modifies the amount of damage we deal, and we also have a critical strike change damage, a critical system in place, so it also modifies the amount of damage we deal. So it's going to be hard to just realize how much damage we deal. So for instance, 11, and if we hold and release, 20. So actually the armor system is not kicking off, so that's fine. We can properly see what's going on. Up, I killed the other character with my charge skill. But what if we actually want our character to play an animation when we press the inputs? Because right now it's not really clear to other player if we are actually being charging something or not, despite the big wing effect. So how can we set this up? we actually need 3 different anim montage, and we are going to build them real quick. So we're going to find out what animation it is used, what animation is used for that skill. It's Twin Blade Attack 9, and we are going to duplicate that animation 3 times. So we're going to create a new folder called Charged Skill, and we're going to drag and drop Twin Blade Attack 9 in there, copy here, go there, call that Stunning Kick, start, duplicate that, Stunning Kick, loop, and duplicate once more, Stunning Kick, end. Then we are going to open up start. So we want to cut that animation in 3 parts. I start the skill, I charge, and when I release, beam, it triggers the animation. So this is the start. We're going to stop there, for instance, at 6. So remove from at 6, remove from 7 to 41, like this. So this is the start of our skill. Open up end. No, we're going to go by loop. In loop, we want to get rid of everything from 0 to 6. And then we want to loop through this and that pose and this pose. So we're going to remove everything from 3 to 36, like this. And it's going to be really clunky. So we're just going to say rate scale 0.3. Then we're going to go in assets. What is it already? Assets. We want to add a looping interpolation. Yes. So maybe it's a little bit weird. I think I cut too many of. I'm going to Control W to get rid of what I did. Control Z to get rid of what I did. Of the looping interpolation, the rate scale, crop animation sequence. I actually want to crop the animation sequence, but I want less frame, I think. I think I only want these 2 frames. Or these frames. So I want to get rid of that last. And if I'm adding looping interpolation on top of this, well, it's going to be fine. We're going to say it's fine. And we want to take the end animation. And I think we stopped. Where did we stop? We stopped there, I think. Or did we stop? Didn't we? We stopped there. So we want to get rid of everything from 0 to 8. And this is going to be the end of our animation, like this. And we need to create 3 anim montage out of that. Create anim montage, like this. We want to open them up. And we want to go to start. And in there, we want to add a notify, which is going to be the start, obviously. In there, we want to add a new notify event, which is called start charging, which is going to tell the system that it can now start playing the looping animation. And actually start charging the effects. This is the warm-up animation, you can call that. And you cannot cancel the skill during that animation. Like this. Loop montage, we don't need to specify anything there. And end montage, we need to specify when are the main effect triggering in there. add notify, skill event, first effect. And when does the skill end, we're going to specify there, end, like this. And we can use these in our furious blow, our stunning kick skill. It's going to be furious. How did we call that? Stunning kick, stunning kick, stunning kick. Yeah. Not furious blow. So stunning kick start, stunning kick loop, and stunning kick end, like this. If we hit compile, hit play. So it's kind of weird, and that's because of the blend time. So what are the blend time? That's the amount of time you have to the Unreal text to blend the animation, and it's asking for 0.5 seconds total to blend the animation, and whereas this animation only lasts for like 0.1, so it cannot perform the blend properly and we cannot see the animation. So we need to specify that we don't want any blend time. And it's not playing the looping montage because we forgot to specify that it should loop. If we open up our skill montage, our stunning kick loop montage, if we want that to loop, we need to double click the default. You need to double click the default button there. And we also need to say that there is no blend time in there. And it's starting to look like a charged attack. What do you say? I'm actually quite happy that it works right away. And you have several examples of this in the examples folder, which you can check. In skills, prefab, montage, you have charged cleave, and you have weapon, charged fire, healing bolt. But healing bolt is just the child of charged fire, so you need to pay attention to what's in healing bolt and charged fire. So these are the examples you can check if you want to double check three different setups, the one we set up and the two in the example. So it's going to wrap up that video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.